Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Cannon Chatter TV. As always, with me, Stephen, and as always, I am joined by G across in London. How are you tonight, G?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Obviously, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. I don't know if I should say 24 hours in the world of football, but yeah, we'll get into that later on in the show. But yeah, I'm all good in London. How are you over in Northern Ireland?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. A bit tired today. It's been a long day. Late night last night, sort of up thinking about all the ramifications and stuff, and then up early this morning with the kids and getting a bit of work done. And then I was actually on another stream earlier on. If anybody caught it, if you haven't, it was on with Anthony in the Republic of Arsenal. I was going to say Republic of Arsenal podcast and his YouTube channel, having a good chat about obviously everything that happened yesterday. And if you haven't seen that, obviously when you finish watching this, head over to his channel and give that a wee watch as well. So yeah, I mean, tonight we want to look at, obviously we'll do a quick recap of the game yesterday. It's easy to forget with everything that's happened that we did actually have a 1-1 draw, a disappointing 1-1 draw with Fulham yesterday. So I think we need to spend a few minutes talking about that, and then obviously we'll get into all this stuff about the European Super League. And this is you guys' opportunity to come on. We've talked about this for a while. We've been starting to have some guests on, but this is the first of what we call the Moan In. So your opportunity to come on and have your say, and you know what, get it all off your chest, and have your say on things. So we'll roll the title and we'll get into it.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's
Okay, so yeah, what a day yesterday was. Obviously the game, and then the announcement sort of coming out towards the end of the match, before the start of the United match, that this European Super League was going ahead, and there was going to be more announcements last night. And obviously we all sat about watching Sky Sports News and waiting until very late on until that was actually made official. And it was a bit of a surprise. We know it's been talked about, but obviously for it just come out of nowhere yesterday, especially the day before UEFA were supposed to announce the changes they were planning for the Champions League. It was a wee bit surprising, but it is what it is, and we'll come on to that in a few minutes. I want to start off just very quickly and say a big thank you to the guys at Sports Bucket Hats. You can find them on Twitter at sport_hat. They create bucket hats out of your old football shirts. Now, I sent them a few recently, and we got some back, and this is the sort of thing they create. Let me try to get this into the screen. This is an old Arsenal away shirt. There you go. You can see it. This is pretty cool, and we are actually going to give this one away at some point. We're just thinking of the best way to do it. So thanks to those guys. I'll try and get the other couple on. There we go. So you can see, I'll do this one first.
Yeah, no, they look super cool, man.
And this one. So I'm going to send this one to G as a wee gift to him, and I'm going to keep the red one for myself. And as I say, we will give the blue one away as a wee giveaway at some point in the coming weeks. We're just trying to figure out the best way to do that. Okay. So, hi guys. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Looking forward to the show. Hi, Anthony. Thanks for joining us, mate. It was good being on your show earlier on. And if you haven't already heard, I've given you a wee plug. Zelen, what's up? Quite a lot tonight.
Yeah.
So listen, let's get into it. Let's talk about the Fulham game. Before we come on to all the European Super League stuff, we did have a game yesterday, a 1-1 draw. We'll start straight away. We'll just get right into it and we'll go through the lineup. Bit surprising. He has gone with Matt Ryan in goal. We had Bellerin at right back, Holding and Gabriel in the centre, and Xhaka continued this run at left back. In the midfield, we had Ceballos and El Neni. Then we had Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Saka as the three behind Lacazette. What were you feeling when you see the team news come out?
Yeah, so I think, we kind of expected that there would be changes, and kind of given Arteta's team selections kind of throughout the season, we kind of expect him to continue to surprise us, in some areas. So I thought it was a strong team. I thought, considering the exploits in Europe, the great performance, I knew there would be changes, but at the same time, there were raised eyebrows, at some of the decisions again. For me, even though I actually picked Matty Ryan in goal, I was actually surprised that he dropped Leno, because it just seems as though he doesn't drop Leno whatsoever. So I was really surprised that he actually dropped Leno. I didn't predict that. It's something I would have done, but it's not something that I really had predicted Arteta to do. So that was a surprise. I think bringing Bellerin back in at right back position was probably just more to kind of give Chambers a rest. But again, that was a little bit surprising, given that we've got a week between this game and the Everton game, or just under a week or so. Not surprised at the two centre backs. I think we've only got Holding at the right centre back position. Gabriel came in. Obviously, Mari played midweek, so that made sense. But the one that is just continually surprising me is Xhaka's position at left back. I'm just thinking, we've made no secret about it that we're not Xhaka's biggest fans, probably more so you than me. But in terms of midfield options, he is our second best midfielder in my opinion, and there's no denying it. He has played so many games, this season, so it just didn't make sense for me. I'm just thinking, if Xhaka is going to play, you've got to play him in midfield, and then if you're not going to play him, give the geezer a rest. So, because we've got Cedric sitting on the bench, and that's the other thing that's puzzling me. I just don't understand what's happened to Cedric. He's no Tierney, that's for sure, but he's definitely come into the squad, on many occasions and put in a decent display. And I just don't seem to I don't get, I just don't understand the reasoning behind not playing him and kind of continuing with Xhaka. Yeah, Xhaka's doing a good job at left back, but he's not a left back. Moving forward, if he's to stay at the club this summer and go into next season, he's not going to be playing left back. So it's really puzzling for me, really puzzling. In midfield, I did expect changes. I probably would have changed it as much as that, but nevertheless, he picked Ceballos and Elneny, not two of my favorite players, that's for sure. But yeah, he rotated the midfield as many of us expected. And we can kind of go into their performances really. But for me, if Elneny doesn't play for Arsenal again, I really won't be disappointed. I just really don't see what he offers. And I think the game against Fulham was just kind of just made that even more clearer to me than what it was originally. Up top, I thought, really good that, he started Martinelli. I think all the fans are kind of crying out for Martinelli to have more game time. So it was nice to see him get a start. Smith Rowe in the number 10 position. That made sense given the fact that Odegaard's out injured. Saka could have been rested for Pepe, but again, between him and Pepe, there's an argument for either of them to start in a game, like this. So it kind of makes sense. And then obviously Lacazette, in hindsight, we can all sit here and say, he should have been rested. Because obviously he's picked up that injury now, and God knows what that's going to mean now between now and the end of the season, or if that will even matter anymore. But hey, that's a conversation for a little bit later on in the show. But yeah, I wasn't disappointed that Lacazette had started the match. He's on fire, he's on form, and I can see the rationale behind starting him for the game. So yeah, a little bit surprised by some of the inclusions, some of the selections, but at the same time, not surprised that the team was rotated, but definitely felt as though it was a strong enough team to beat Fulham.
Yeah,
how about yourself? How did you feel about it all?
Yeah, I mean, like yourself, a bit sort of surprised at this Xhaka at left back when Cedric's there. As I was saying earlier on the other channel I was on, the Republic of Arsenal, when I was on their panel earlier on, that you worry for Cedric that he's not getting a game. You can understand that it was sort of said Bellerin potentially was being put in the shop window because we know, it's looking pretty likely he is away this summer. But why Cedric isn't getting the game it's quite shocking. And, as you've rightly pointed out, Jack is our second best midfielder. So why we're not playing him in midfield? The thing with El Neni is, who else do we have to put in there? If you're resting Partey and you're playing Jack at left back, we only have El Neni and Ceballos left. We don't have any other centre midfielders. We've obviously let, Maitland-Niles go out on loan. We've let Joe Willock go out on loan. We just don't have options there. And it is something, obviously, that needs to be looked at in the summer. And, we may have a massive transfer kitty. We may have a small transfer kitty. Who knows? But it is something that definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Other than that, I was happy enough with the squad. Gabriel coming back in for Mari. Gabriel's confidence seems to be maybe down a little, and he needs to play himself back into form. And against the likes of Fulham, you would have thought, that's the perfect game for him to try and do it. And again, it was a bit of a poor judgment in terms of his tackle that led to the penalty. For me, there is slight contact. You can understand why it was given. I think it was soft, but you can understand why the penalty was given. And it's Gabriel has come out today and sort of taken responsibility for it, which fair play to him. He didn't need to do that, but he has taken responsibility for it. So, overall, team-wise, happy enough. Good to see Martinelli back in. It's what we're all sort of crying for. And I think if Martinelli hadn't have played, it would have been uproar. Yeah. As you say, rightly so, with the Lacazette thing, we can all sit here in hindsight and say, oh, no, he shouldn't have played. But, again, it's him or Nketiah. And Nketiah is a 5-yard poacher. It's not really the style of football we play. We had to bring him on because we didn't have any other option, really, to play up front at that point. So, it was a team that should have won the game. And, if you look at the pattern of the game, it followed the same old pattern we've had most of the season. We've dominated play. We've been good in parts. We've been poor in other parts. But we're just not taking our chances. 18 shots and 5 of them on target. These are professional footballers being paid a lot of money. And yes, you can put some of it down to Arteta's tactics. You can put some of it down to the team selection. But at the same time, professional footballers at this level should be getting more shots on target. They should be testing the goalkeeper more. I don't think Matty Ryan did much wrong. He had a good game. Not a lot he could do about the penalty. It was a well-taken penalty. He helped with getting our goal back. So, he had a good game. But I don't know. I'm kind of glossing over a lot of this because I don't think anybody really cares that much in terms of the result, because it was kind of what we expected. These teams that we should be beating quite comfortably, we're struggling against. And it's been the story for so many years. We struggle against teams that we just should be beating. A couple of quick comments here. Georgina, evening guys. Evening Georgina. Thanks for coming
Evening,
along.
Georgina.
Mark, hi guys, just back from Tenerife. Missed the Arsenal match. Poor result. VAR shit show again, I heard. Yeah, there was a couple of VAR incidents. We'll talk about those in a wee second. Saying yesterday's game was a disgrace. And then he had a shocker. He should leave the club. Not good enough. Yeah, we've both said that in our squad review, that he isn't good enough and he should be looked to be replaced this summer. The players at our club don't have the mentality to win games when it matters most. Yeah, you could argue that. And I don't know if anybody's seen the pictures coming out after the match of Arteta ushering them back, trying to get them to get the ball and get back to the halfway line and try to, go again. And they're too busy celebrating. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't celebrate a goal, but it should have been a limited celebration in the circumstances. Celebrate quickly, grab the ball, get back to the halfway line, try and get the ball back again. Try and make the last of that minute or two that was left and try and, see if we could sneak a winner. All right, the VAR incidents, what did you make of them? Did you think they were offsides? What was your sort of opinion?
Yeah, so this is where the VAR and the rule of offside for me is just ruins the game, because if we were going to go by the letter of the law and we were going to get technical, Saka's offside. He might be offside by a toenail, hair on his toe, whatever it is, he's offside. But at the same time, I actually watched the show earlier when he was on the other YouTube channel, and I could completely agree with what you were saying in terms of how much of an advantage is Saka actually getting by being a toe offside. It just doesn't make any sense. Technically, by the letter of the law, he's offside, but does he have a significant advantage to the defender, by being a toe offside? And then when you actually look at that, scenario, you think to yourself, is that a clear and obvious error? So the goal was given, is it a clear and obvious error? It's not clear and obvious because you're literally talking millimeters. You're talking about 2 to 5 minutes, bringing up, pictures and graphics and looking at all different angles to try and get to the right decision. So for me, I know this has been spoken about. I think Arsene Wenger put a proposal to whichever, organization about, making the offside rule, kind of more in favor of the attacking teams or in attacking play. For me, that was a clear example where you could have given the striker or the attacking player or the attacking team the benefit of the doubt because it wasn't a clear offside. It wasn't at all. So for me, by the letter of the law, it's offside. But really and truly, if we're giving those offside, then, we have to be, as fans, I'll be honest, when we scored that goal, I didn't even celebrate. I celebrated to a certain extent, but I just felt hesitant because I just felt like, there's a strong possibility here that, it's going to be given offside because you just don't know anymore. You can't literally, usually you wait to see if the linesman's flags or not, but that just doesn't matter anymore. And in a way, I kind of feel like a bit of a fool because I really wanted VAR to be introduced because I was fed up of Arsenal getting, ripped off and screwed over by officials. But it just seems like the introduction of VAR has made it worse. So, for me, it wasn't offside, but by the letter of the law, it is. The second one, and this is where the problem is, with the second one, again, he's not technically offside because he's level, but then his hand's offside. And I know the letter of the law will say, well, actually, he can't score with his hand. And obviously the penalty that was given, it was quite soft in my opinion. When I actually look at the content that was made and then the reaction of the player, he literally jumped over a hurdle. That's what it looked like. It's almost like, VAR and the officials are actually, it's like they're actually, I don't know what the right word is, but they're encouraging, this type of play from attacking players, to kind of fabricate, a dive or to make it look, more extreme than it was. So it was frustrating. It was really frustrating because I think, again, we're talking about VAR, but really and truly the performance was poor. Arsenal should have won the game. And really and truly, the VAR decision should have just been kind of irrelevant in the reflection of the match. But here we are sitting here again saying, in a game that we completely dominated, we've come away with a lucky draw at the end of it. So, yeah, even when we scored, I wasn't particularly thrilled. It was on the 97th minute and I knew, the 2 points had been dropped at that point. So, yeah, just a very frustrating afternoon in all, really.
Yeah. I know when the goal went in, I kind of did a bit of a yes, and then stopped and went, wait, hold on, is holding offside, and you're sitting there for a few minutes while they're trying to figure out whether holding's offside or not. And as I said earlier on, again on the Republic of Arsenal's channel, it's one of them ones that if it had been against, or if it had been against us, would all be saying that was offside. So it's kind of. It's one of them ones that could have gone either way, and you can understand why Fulham felt aggrieved after the game, but we should have had that game out of sight before that. And again, it's the same problem as we've had in so many matches, and it's frustrating. We should be higher up the league than we are. We shouldn't be having to worry about qualifying for Europe through the Europa League. Winning the Europa League, we should be easily qualifying if we're allowed to play. Who knows? But we shouldn't be having to go through this every year. It was the same last season. We had to win the FA Cup to get a place. Now it looks like we're going to have to win the Europa League in the hope that potentially we might get to play in it next season. I don't think the Europa Super League is going to be. I know people sort of read August, but I don't think they meant this August. I just think they meant that the season would run from August to May in the Super League. I don't think it was actually that they were meaning they were starting this August. I think it's probably a year or two off yet. But yeah, it's so frustrating that we're in this position. Why we're not clinical in front of goal, why we're not killing these teams off, I just don't understand. Highly paid professional players, and they just can't get the ball in the back of the net. So, quick one there from Chris. The VAR thing was stupid. How is Saka offside when most of his body was in front of the defender? Him sticking his foot out shouldn't be given. It should be judged on the players' bodies, not their feet. Yeah, I mean, there is some truth to that. For me, there's got to be more common sense in these decisions. To me, Saka wasn't gaining an advantage. Likewise, I can understand why theirs wasn't given as offside before the penalty. It's a hand. You can't use the hand to control the ball, so fine. But I don't know. If we can't even beat Fulham, how are we going to cope in the Super League? Yeah, I mean, I've seen that comment quite a bit. What I would say is if you think we're going into the Super League without massive reinforcement in terms of playing personnel, we won't. We'll be going in with massive improvements in the squad. So, yeah, anything more you want to say about yesterday's match, or we'll move on?
Yeah, no, it was the same old story, really. After the highs of the second leg in Slavia, again, we're kind of sitting here. As soon as we kind of get our hopes up and we're going into a match really optimistic as fans, the team kind of let us down, and I did feel like that. I kind of felt let down, with regards to the match and with regards to the result. So yeah, poor performance. 2 points dropped. And it just makes you think, the league is done pretty much. Yeah,
it is. And I think Fulham are pretty much done in the league as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Let's get on to the European Super League. Obviously, the announcements came out last night, and we've all now had coming up in 24 hours to sort of digest it and try to make sense of it. I think, I've gone through the full range of emotions today. I've gone from it's a terrible idea to it's not a bad idea, back to it's terrible, blaming the TV companies, blaming the fans, blaming, Cronkies, blaming everybody. It's hard to know. I mean, for anybody, I'm not even going to insult anybody who's watching this, because if you're watching it, you already know what's going on. The plans are that these 12 clubs are going to form the basis of a European Super League. They've signed into a 23-year agreement, and that they will be playing midweek games, 2 leagues of 10 teams. The top 3 from each league will qualify for the quarterfinals, and then the 4th and 5th place team in each league will have a 2-legged playoff to qualify for the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals will then be over 2 legs, and the final will be over a single leg. So potentially 23 to 25 games extra per season. And we will have 15 teams that will be in it every season, and 5 that will be changed up each season. So be interesting to see what happens if it comes off. What are your feelings right now? I mean, how are you feeling about the whole thing, G?
Yeah, so it's a massive surprise. It was a huge surprise. I know this is something that's been kind of spoken about. I know, Wenger spoke about it, some, 10, 11 years ago. So yeah, I've similar to you. I've gone through a range of emotions, kind of like a roller coaster of emotions, from finding out late last night to today, just really kind of soaking it all in, with Twitter and all the kind of reactions from, UEFA, from the Premier League, from pundits, from fans, even myself on Twitter. So for me, I'm gonna try and not spend too much time on explaining this, because I know we're gonna give fans an opportunity to kind of come on and have their say. But I want to kind of categorically, say that I do not agree with the creation of the European Super League. And there's a couple of reasons why. I grew up watching the Premier League. I grew up watching the Champions League. And for me, European Super League takes away the competitiveness. It takes away, being able to represent your team on merit. And, I'm not going to insult anybody. Obviously it's clear, you win the Premier League, you finish in the top 4, you go to the Champions League. You get there because you've been competitive, you've been better than the other teams in your league, and you're there by merit. You represent your club. That's what I'm used to. That's the football that's been ingrained in me, over years and years and years of playing it, watching it, and falling in love with the game. So for those reasons, I don't think it's a good structure. I really don't. And the other thing that annoys me about it is this kind of elitist mentality. It's like we are the biggest clubs, we are the most successful clubs, we are the richest clubs, and we've grouped together and we've decided that, we're no longer happy with the structure of football. And we're going to basically create our own one. It does kind of give off a sense of arrogance, a sense of entitlement, and a real kind of elitist mentality that I'm really, really not for. So that's why I disagree with the creation of the European Super League. What really bugs me though, is just the kind of hypocrisy of the reaction from like the Premier League, the UEFA, the TV companies and so forth. Because for me, the European Super League has been created on the basis of money. It's a money-driven thing. But also the opposition from UEFA, the Premier League, and TV companies and so forth. Again, the opposition is all to do with money. So, when we're talking about the European Super League and everybody's saying, the European Super League and the owners don't care about the fans, and they don't care about football, and football's lost its soul, and football's being destroyed. That happened so many years ago. Where was the same energy when we're talking about the creation of the Premier League, when the Premier League teams broke away and made their own league away from the first division? Where was the energy when you're talking about ticket prices? We're talking about shirt prices. We're talking about TV subscriptions. Foreign owners coming to the Premier League and spending unimaginable monies, on like Abramovich on buying Chelsea the league and the Champions League. Or in 2018, when PSG basically spent more money than all the teams put together in the whole of the French league. Where was UEFA's and the Premier League's moral compass when all those things were happening? When they came up with the football fair play rules that nobody listened to and nobody followed, but that was okay. So for me, the hypocrisy is just, it's really kind of annoyed me. And while they've allowed all of this to happen, they've contributed to destruction of football. They've done all of this. They now want us as fans to unite, protest, riot, do whatever it takes to stop the European Super League from taking place. But where was their protest? Where was their opposition to all the things that I've mentioned? It was nowhere, because ultimately these big organizations that are opposing the creation of the European Super League are in it just for the money, just as the 12 teams that have gone into this creation of the European Super League are in it for the money. That's what football has become. Football's been monetized, it's turned into a business, and that's kind of like just the way it is, So while I'm not happy with the creation of the European Super League, I'm also quite frustrated with the kind of reaction towards it, because I just think to myself, and I will stop in a second. The thing that's really, really annoyed me as well is, UEFA have come out and said, we're going to expel teams from the Champions League. We're going to expel teams from the Europa League. We're going to expel teams and players from playing in the World Cup for their countries. Where was this same energy when we're talking about racism? Somebody wants to be racist to another player on the pitch, and you want to give them a one-match ban. But now you're talking about expelling players from playing for their nations? You're talking about throwing out 6 teams from the Premier League? But you want to give out a £10,000 fine when somebody's racially abused? Or, you want to give somebody a one-match ban? It just annoys me. It really, really annoys me. So you know, I'm not in favor, and I think some people on Twitter today have kind of got, you know, their wires crossed in thinking that I'm in favor of the European Super League. I'm not in favor of the European Super League because I do think, you know, it stifles competition. It's very elitist, and I don't think that the teams that are included are there by merit. And I think that's what football should be about. It should be about earning your right to be in whatever competition. But at the same time, you know, they are hypocrites to stand up here and say, oh, you know, the European Super League is destroying football. They destroyed football. You know, they contributed to destroying football. The European Super League is just a natural evolution of a business that has been monetized from day dot.
Feel better?
Yeah.
No, I mean, do you know what? Everything you're saying makes absolute sense. And, you know, the business head in me has looked at it today and kind of gone, yeah, I can see the business sense in it, and I can see why it's financially lucrative. I can also see, and as I said earlier on, you know, we as fans have been crying out for more investment from the Cronkies because we don't like this idea of a self-sustaining club. And here we are in a position where, albeit it's not how we necessarily want the investment, but the Cronkies have got investment. You know, we're going to get 350 million or whatever it is initially for joining. We're going to be guaranteed a minimum 250 million extra a season. And albeit, yes, those other 5 clubs from England are going to have that as well. But, you know, that puts us in a position where we can now start to look at bringing in big name talents. You know, is it that we only want investment if it's out of the owner's pocket? We're not prepared to have it come any other way. You know, are we only wanting someone who's going to come and invest their own money? Because I'll tell you now, no businessman in his right mind is going to come in and just start taking money out of his own pocket if it's not going to get him anything back. You know, it's you look at Mike Ashley at Newcastle. Now, I can tell you now, if Mike Ashley was invited to play in the Super League, Newcastle would be in the Super League. You know, Mike Ashley knows.
This is what I'm saying.
Money. So, you know, there's flip sides to it all. So I can see the benefits, but as a fan, I don't want it. I don't agree with the way it's being done. I don't like this. You're not earning the right to be in the competition. You know, realistically, if we don't win the Europa League, we wouldn't be there next. We wouldn't be in Europe next season, and quite frankly, we don't deserve to be. Sorry, one wee sec here.
And that's what I kind of find frustrating. You know, like I said, you know, categorically, I don't believe that, you know, this European Super League should have been created. And I've kind of made that very, very clear in terms of, you know, competitiveness, merit, elitism. I'm not for it whatsoever. But it would be very interesting if, you know, this invitation had been extended to Arsenal, and had Arsenal and Stan Kroenke turned it down, what the reaction of the fans would have been. Because, you know, on the one hand, it's very admirable, you know, if that's something they would have done. And there would have been a proportion of Arsenal fans that would have said, you know what, I take my hat off to the club. You know, it's standing by its morals, its ethical code, etc., etc. At the same time, there would be a massive proportion of Arsenal fans that would say, what on earth are you doing? We're already miles behind some of the named clubs that are going to be part of this European Super League. And you're telling me you've turned down a chance to be part of this competition and all the kind of economical, you know, advantages that comes with it. So it would be interesting, you know, you can always kind of flip it, you know, and see another side to it. And the other thing, what you touched upon with Newcastle, you know, I've seen what's really annoyed me, you know, on Twitter today. You see all these other teams, you know, piping up. You get these Villa fans, Leicester City fans, West Ham fans, and all these other teams piping up, giving it all that on Twitter. I'm telling you, had that invitation been extended to those teams and they had a seat at the table, if that party kicked off at 6, they would have been there at 2. They would have, listen, there wouldn't even have been no negotiation whatsoever. There would have been no negotiation whatsoever. It would have just been, yes, they would have been part of it. But then they want to sit there and say, oh, this is morally wrong and this is destroying football, when they would have gladly wanted to be part of the European Super League. So while I don't agree with it, I kind of feel like there's a sense of it's inevitable that it's going to happen. And I feel as though, we don't really have a say in what's going to happen. And the only way fans can actually, the only way we can actually have an impact is if there's proper organization behind it, and all the fans kind of unite. But I just can't see that happening. I see Arsenal fans talking about not supporting the club, not supporting the team. They're not going to follow the team. They're going to support another team. Like, come on, really?
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we've said we wanted to open this up tonight, and it is the Moan In. So this is your opportunity. If you're watching live and you want to get involved, you can either drop your email to me on stephen@cannonchatter.com, or if you want, go on to Twitter. If you just do it through the main Cannon Chatter page, drop me a DM, your email address, and I'll send you through a wee link, and we'll try to get as many on as we can. We do have Chris waiting to come on, but just before we bring Chris on, have you seen the trophy that apparently is up for grabs in this?
I haven't seen it.
No. It looks like something you buy in Poundland. Have you seen the ball?
Oh, serious? Huh? What's this?
Have you seen the ball? It's a new football.
This is what they're playing with?
No, mate. No.
What is
this?
Can you not
see it? It's made of £50 notes.
Oh,
I can't
okay.
Lost on you tonight. Forget it.
Yeah,
Forget it.
Literally, like that just went over my head. I'm seething, like you can tell.
All right. Well, listen. Let's get on with having some guys on. So we have Chris waiting. For anybody who doesn't know, Chris, who's about to come on, does the graphics you see on our Twitter account for us. When we do the wee polls and the wee match day things and stuff with the badges and things on it. Chris, good evening.
You're all right? Yeah, I'm here.
Good evening.
Good. How are you?
Yes, I did like the football. Yes.
Good.
Did you hear me?
It's your chance. You talk away. What do you want to say?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, for me personally, the spectre of the European League has always been there. I mean, that was the original idea with the Champions League, because the clubs wanted to form their own European League, and that's why they changed the Champions League format to the teams having fours in it, because teams used to say, well, we've only got limited matches, so that's why UEFA gave them 6 group games then, so they had more matches to play and more money to make. And it was back, of course, in the old days, it used to be the leagues. So then you would have teams like, there would be a draw, and Real Madrid and Liverpool would draw each other in the first round, and one of them would get knocked out after 2 matches. So that was the original idea for why they changed the format of the Champions League into what it is now, because they said back then, oh, we're going to set up our own European League then, and we'll go play that, and you can have the Champions League. Why that was all changed. This format here, it's one of those, if it's a pre-season tournament and they could play matches in LA and Dubai and places like that, I think a lot of people wouldn't really care. I don't personally see that UEFA and the Premier, they're not going to kick out the top 6 clubs in the English Premier League, are they? And be left with Leicester, West Ham and Everton. And you've also then got to look at it play. You said earlier about Arsenal are going to make massive investment. Why would players want to go to Arsenal or United if they then know that they can't play in World Cups and European Championships or the Champions League? An Arsenal season then could end up being 24 matches if all goes ahead. It's kind of, you've got to look at it and think it's very far-fetched, and whether it'll even happen, because a lot of things will go through, as I said, and there'll be teams will just think, well, it's more trouble than it's worth.
Sorry. Yeah, I think the fact that the clubs have all come away from the ECA last night. You know, they've all resigned from the ECA. I mean, to me, that says it's a lot further on than we think. You know, why would they do that? This thing, I mean, you're right. You know, I said this earlier on. The Premier League will devalue their own product if they kick these 6 clubs out. You know, people aren't going to want to pay the Sky subscriptions, and that's what Sky's problem is. It's not the Super League itself; it's the fact that they're going to lose revenue because people aren't going to want to pay big subscription fees to watch, you know, Fulham against Norwich every week. You know, they're not. They want to see. People want to see the best players in big clubs. And then, I mean, sorry, Chris, very quickly. This notion that we're going to be kicked out of Europe this week, you know, and not be allowed to play in the semi-finals. To me, legally, that just can't happen. You know, at the minute, we haven't actually broken any rules. We have entered into an agreement that we are potentially going to go and do this, but as yet, we have not kicked the ball in anger in a European Super League. So there is no justification for kicking us out of European competition, and it would just be an absolute field day for the lawyers. And UEFA would come off terribly out of this. And UEFA and FIFA are, I mean, they're as corrupt as get out. Let's face it, the World Cup in 2022 is in Qatar. And you're telling me that, you know, FIFA aren't corrupt. So, you know, how they can justify trying to say all this stuff and trying to say it's not right. And, you know, it's their own pockets they're worried about not being lined. They're just annoyed because they're not in control of it. So... But they're not going to be able to kick people out, and they won't because, you know, the likes of Sky and stuff, just they won't let it happen because they won't be able to sell their subscriptions. Sorry, Chris, it's over to you, mate.
But yeah, I mean that's the issue really when you've got like Gary Neville and Carragher on TV tonight. I mean, what are they going to do if Sky get the TV rights to it? Are Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville not going to appear on the TV show? I mean, of course they are. You know what I mean? But you've
even if it goes to someone else.
I mean, you've got Rio Ferdinand on BT Sport being, but if BT Sport then signed up for it,
this is the thing.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, you know, I mean, Jack Grealish is not going to sign for Arsenal if he knows he can't play in the World Cup for England. Odegaard is not going to sign for Arsenal if he loses international football for Norway. You've got to look at it and think Saka, Xhaka, Aubameyang, Lacazette. Are they all? It could on the knock-on effect that all the best players leave the clubs. Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United, Ronaldo, Juventus, Messi at Barcelona. I mean, they could all turn around and sign for Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, because they know then that they're still going to get Champions League football, they're going to win trophies, and they're going to get to play in the World Cups. Monaco could end up with Lacazette and Aubameyang and Saka and Xhaka in their team, and we could end up with it'll bring out just the mercenaries and the people that are just looking for the paydays, and your players that have already retired from international football. I mean, your Pogbas and players like that Mesut Ozil will come back to Arsenal because he'll be back looking for his 400 grand a week so he can sit on the bench every week. And he's got no interest really in playing for Germany anyway.
Yeah, Jay?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think at the moment it's like a lot of hot air. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like I was saying to Stephen, it's like, obviously I don't want to compare it to a world conflict, but it's almost like the kind of Cold War where it's like, you know, neither side, you know, both sides are kind of threatening like nuclear war, but no one's really prepared to kind of press the button. It's like this Super League has kind of come out of nowhere. It's, you know, it's been created. These are the 12 teams. We've signed this contract, but there's no real definitive in terms of like when it's starting, how it's going to work, the logistics of it, etc., etc. There's no real detail in terms of how this is going to happen. And then obviously you've got UEFA and the Premier League throwing out all these threats in terms of like kicking teams out of the league and, you know, banning players from playing for for their nations and so forth and so forth. So in a way, it's like in terms of the ramifications, we've kind of just got to see how it all plays out over the next kind of days and coming weeks, because this is not over by a long shot. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't really know how it's all going to resolve. I said to Stephen earlier, I said, do you think they're all going to just sit around the table and come to some compromise at one stage? Because that's what it, money talks at the end of the day. And I feel like with all these, powerful and influential kind of men and women and all the money that's involved, at some point, they're going to have mediators. And they're all going to sit around the table and they're all going to discuss money, and they'll probably come, to a solution where all their pockets are filled. Because at the moment, the opposition is only there because, some people's pockets are not going to be filled more than others, to be honest.
Yeah, the 12 clubs will do a deal with UEFA where they don't have to do the group stage of the Champions League. They go straight into the knockout stage or something. It'll be something stupid like that where they'll just dodge the group stages so they still make their money through the higher revenue knockout stage match. Like this whole thing where a team finishes third in the Champions League group stage and gets put in the Europa League as like a reward for mediocrity in a way, because and then he'll end up with Milan and Atletico Madrid in the final and they weren't even in half the tournament. It's that type of thing. It will be the same format. You'll have 2 group stages of the Champions League, and you'll have all your Leipzigs and all that in the first group stage. They've then got to play through to get to your Real Madrids and AC Milans. And
it's going to be interesting just to see how it all plays out. It's mad.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, as I said, I don't. Sorry. I don't. I mean, as I said, I don't see how legally though they can turn around to Aubameyang and say, right, you can't play in the World Cup anymore. I don't get how that would work. As I said, I don't see how the Premier League can say, Arsenal, United, and Liverpool, you're now no longer in the league, because it'll kill the English game. I mean, and Gary Neville on there yesterday saying that they should be fined and they should have points deducted and they should be relegated to the Championship. And you think, well, what is that really going to do? It's not really. It's not going to solve the overall problem, is it? I mean, if they deduct Arsenal 50 points from the Premier League season this year, and we get relegated, and I mean, what is that going to do? It doesn't really work. I just don't think it would work. Like. Anyway, and all this, it just seems to be an idea, and it seems funny that it's the day before the format of the Champions League changes, and whether they're all now just going to say, well, we could cancel this European League what are you going to give us and we'll cancel it, and we want this and we want that. So it could just be the big 6 clubs, big 12 clubs wanted more of the money pot from the Champions League. As I said, an early group stage, so you get rid of your smaller teams, so they haven't got to go to Galatasaray and like that. And then you've got your 12 teams, and then they just make it up where 4 teams from the group stage, 4 groups are in the Champions League, and the 4 winners of the group stage join them in the next round or something. And then you have your league that way, where you just have one league, because it's the same format, because that's what they're saying anyway. They're saying it's going to be 12 member clubs, and then 5 teams will qualify through it each year. So it's kind of, I mean, I could see it ending up like that, where they'll just have one league as the second round of the Champions League, and it'll be these 12 teams and the 4 winners from the first round group stages. I mean, that probably works better, to be honest.
I mean, if it does go ahead, what do you think it means for the Europa League and for the Champions League? I mean, are those going to be disbanded completely? Are we going to have any other European?
But then how are you going to work out who qualifies? I mean, if these teams, if they still stay in the Premier League, and the top 6 teams, is Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Chelsea, and Tottenham. So what does the team who finished 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th end up in the Champions League representing England? I mean, you've got to look at that. You've got to look at it that way. How would they then work out how teams end up in the Champions League? I mean, is the team 11th? Is Stoke or Burnley or whoever going to end up finishing 11th in the Premier League and go into the Europa League? I mean, that doesn't really work either.
It doesn't, but it opens up the argument then that actually that would generate more income for those clubs lower down the league.
It would, yes. And as I said, you've then got. I mean, you could have, as I said, you could have 7, 8, 9, and you could have Villa and Everton and Burnley and Southampton in the Champions League, and the top 6 teams in the league don't qualify because they're not allowed in it because they got their own tournament on a Wednesday and a Thursday night. So I don't really know how that works.
I think that as much as we've all been kind of saying that this European Super League, in a way, it's kind of like the European Super League going up against UEFA and obviously the Champions League and the Europa League. And we've kind of said that at the moment, it's the 12 teams or 17 teams or 20 teams, all these different number of teams quoted as to how they're going to be signing up. But as much as they hold a lot of the power, because obviously, they've joined the European Super League, they've signed a 20-year, supposedly 23-year contract. But the Premier League's next move is going to be crucial because if the Premier League keep, in a way, the Premier League cannot afford to get rid of those 6 teams from the Premier League because it would destroy the league. At the same time, if they don't get rid of those teams, then in a way, the Champions League and the Europa League and UEFA are absolutely screwed because if the Premier League come on board and say, well, you know what, it doesn't really affect us. Yeah, it doesn't really affect us. We're happy for the European Super League teams to continue playing domestically. Then the Champions League and the Europa League and UEFA are absolutely screwed. But then if the Premier League take a stance and somehow work it out legally that they will actually bite the bullet and kick those 6 teams out of the Premiership, then at that point you could say, okay, well, if you exclude the 6 teams, the value of the Premier League goes down, but you could still maybe see it working with the Premier League and the Champions League and the Europa League. But the problem is who's going to watch it? If the Premiership gets rid of the 6 biggest teams historically, let's just say historically, out of the Premier League. Yes, no disrespect to Leicester, West Ham, Aston Villa, they're having fantastic seasons, but who's going to watch a Premier League globally that the best game of the season is going to be Leicester City versus Villa? Who's going to watch that?
Yeah.
Well,
this is the thing.
So I don't know how it's all going to pan out, but it's going to be very interesting.
I mean, you're not going to keep your Sky Sports subscription to watch.
It's going to be very interesting. Who knows?
Sheffield
but supposedly UEFA.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's. Do you know what I mean? You're just going to get rid of it. You're just going to cancel it.
Yeah, I mean, the marketable clubs are your Liverpools and your Manchester Uniteds because they're the ones. I mean, they're on TV every week. I mean, they should be making enough revenue anyway because every Liverpool match is shown on a Monday night or Saturday or Sunday, whereas Burnley probably gets shown once or twice a season normally when they play Liverpool or Man United. You're not then gonna. I mean, they're gonna kill the league, and you're gonna have Leicester winning the league every year with West Ham in second and then Everton in third, while Arsenal are going to end up playing 22 games in some fantasy European league every year. And is that then going to also have a knock-on effect to these bigger clubs as well? Because I mean, they've already had to take out loans even now for financial reasons with the whole COVID-19. And I mean, are they going to lose revenue? Because yes, you may get Real Madrid at home in front of 60,000 supporters, but you're only going to get 11 home games a season to make the most out of it. You're not going to be domestic. You're not going to have your 19 Premier League games. You're not going to have your FA Cup, your League Cup. And to be honest with you, your biggest revenue of that all is your Champions League and your Europa League. So are these big clubs going to go to the wall because they won't be able to afford player wages? Yes, you're going to make billions out of this European League thing, and your best players may turn around and go, well, I want to play for England. Saka may turn around to Arsenal and go, well, I want to play for England, so I will go sign for Bayern Munich or Monaco, so I can go and do that. My ambitions are not money driven. I want to play in the World Cup for England. I want to win the European Championship, so I'll go and play for Borussia Dortmund with Jadon Sancho.
Yeah. Okay. Chris, thank you. Great having you on, and stay there. We'll come back to you in a wee sec. Just if anybody else is watching and wants to come on, as I say, drop me a wee DM on Twitter at Cannon Chatter, or you can email me, Stephen@cannonchatter.com. I have just emailed a link to John there from the chat, John Matthew, who is actually an Everton fan, but would like to come on and have a small say. So just waiting for him to jump on with us. While we're waiting on him, Chris, I've heard obviously a lot of fans saying that they would stop supporting Arsenal if we were to join this European Super League and it goes ahead. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's stupid. Why would you stop supporting a club because they're playing in a different tournament? I mean, certainly if you've got a commitment towards the club, it's like it would go back to when you were children and you were like glory hunters and you'd support Liverpool because they won the league that year. And then the next year, Manchester United win it, so you support them. I mean, if you've got an affiliation with a club, you wouldn't stop supporting them just because Gary Neville doesn't agree with the Premier League or Arteta and all that coming out today and saying, "Oh, we weren't even involved in the process." Well, the cashiers at Top Man weren't. When Sir Philip Green turned around and sold the company and it went into liquidation, he didn't ask the cashiers on the till beforehand, did he? So you've got to look at it that way and think, why would you stop supporting the club if they weren't playing matches anymore? Then maybe, and it went to the wall, and we'll all go off and support whoever, Boreham Wood or something. But you've got to look at it and think it would be a stupid thing to say. I think because it's not logical. I mean, you support a club because you've got a connection with that club. You shouldn't really be caring where they play or what they play in. Yeah, kind of that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my attitude's I'm not a kick in the arse off 40, and I know I only look like I'm a young 20-year-old. It's 30 odd years of supporting Arsenal, and it's ingrained in me. It's my passion. It's aside from my wife and kids, it's it's the love of my life. And I just couldn't give that up, just to go and support the local team that I've been to see a couple of times in my life, because, Northern Irish League football it's not good. I've been to a few games and it's just not good quality. And I say that having a friend who actually played in goal for a number of Northern Irish League teams, and I didn't even go to see him play. I think it's maybe slightly easier for me because I do live, in a different country, that no matter what game I go to, I have to get on a plane to go to it. So, it doesn't matter to me if I'm going to London to watch the match, if I'm going to Birmingham to watch a match, if I'm going to Madrid to watch a match. It really makes no odds in terms of the costs. And in some extents, it's probably even cheaper for me to go to some of these foreign countries. Because the likes of EasyJet and stuff put on flights, so they're that cheap to go there. Whereas it's more expensive for me to fly into London and to try and stay in London for a game. So really, from my point of view, where we're playing the games really doesn't make a great deal of difference, and who we're playing against. But I couldn't turn against Arsenal. It's ingrained in me to support this club.
I mean, I think in recent years we've had other excuses not to support Arsenal. To be honest, the shambles of the club the club in general. I mean,
Exactly.
if we didn't want to support Arsenal, we'd have stopped supporting them years ago, to be honest. When old Kroenke decided to turn up, we'd have stopped supporting them then with their 30 million transfer budget every summer. And our best players going to Man City and Manchester United and things like that. We've had years of excuses of why we could have stopped supporting Arsenal. So them going and playing Real Madrid or Barcelona every Tuesday or Wednesday is rather minor for me.
What's your feelings?
Yeah, no, I agree. I was having this conversation with Stephen earlier. Yeah, I was having this conversation with Stephen earlier. And you know, like even with you, Chris, on Twitter, for me, it's like, you know, that's one of the frustrating things that I saw on Twitter. You know, I saw so many Arsenal fans coming out and saying that they won't support the club and, you know, they're going to turn their back on. And I said to Stephen, I said, there's more chance of me not watching football than actually me not supporting Arsenal. If I ever got to the point where I couldn't support Arsenal for whatever kind of moral or ethical reason, then I just wouldn't watch football at all. It's just, I can't even fathom like a situation where I could, I'm not even going to say it because it's an impossibility. Do you know what I mean? Like going off and trying to support another team. It's just crazy. And for me, like you said, Chris, you know, there have been so many reasons why over the years I could have stopped supporting Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? So our introduction to the European Super League, as much as I don't agree with it, for me, it's not a legitimate for me to turn my back on a club I've supported for probably 30 odd years of my life. Yeah, definitely. I
mean,
so yeah, for me, it's ridiculous.
I mean, we would have, if we wanted to stop supporting Arsenal, we'd have stopped it when Van Persie signed for Manchester United or Alexis Sanchez. It's like, how dare they sell them to the biggest rivals? The shambles of the club in the last couple of years of Wenger
when
and ever
Clichy
since.
left.
Adebayor,
Patrick Vieira left, Henry left. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, we've had excuses basically since the last couple of years of Wenger, and we've seen this slide down the table from 4th to 6th, and it's Kroenke is not. There's been no investment in the club, and you look at it and you think, where is all this money from the club even gone? I mean, are we just funding the LA Rams' new stadium? I mean, we've already paid for one stadium. Now we're paying for another team's stadium. So we've had excuses when we see a January transfer window and we can only sign loan signings, and Manchester United and Chelsea have spent 200 million on a new striker. So we've had our excuses. So as I said, playing in a European Super League is rather minor to Arsenal fans when you look at how the club has been for maybe the last 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to touch on this one. Obviously, sorry, bring it back up there, Ryan. Will the games be held at the Emirates, for example, or will it be whoever pays the most money gets the game? I've seen a lot of this today. You know, people sort of saying, "Oh, you know, it's only a matter of time before, you know, it's Arsenal versus Barcelona in New York, and you know it's Chelsea against Atletico and you know in Milan and this sort of thing, and you know they just be playing.
I did write that myself, actually.
Did you?
Yes.
I mean, I understand the reasoning behind the question, but I mean, it would be silly to think that they're not relying on match day revenue as part of this sort of guaranteed 250 million. You know, 25% or something of our yearly revenue comes from match day revenue. So, you know, to have another minimum nine home games per season, you know, that's chunky money. They're not going to take that somewhere else and, you know, have to pay another stadium that money. So, I mean, these games are going to be staged in London. They're going to be, you know, these big clubs coming over. My issue more with it is, you know, it takes away the excitement of playing at Barcelona if you're playing them every season. I mean, we did used to play Barcelona every season because we seemed to get drawn against them every season in the Champions League. And we used to complain about it. We used to go, oh, and people used to laugh. And it's the same now at the minute with Olympiacos. When the draw's made in the Europa League, we're all going, oh, we'll get Olympiacos. And sure enough, we'll get Olympiacos. And we'll complain about it. So how are we going to feel playing Barcelona twice a year? And potentially playing them, again 3 times, if we were to get to the final of the tournament or whatever. Or playing AC Milan twice a year, every year. It's going to take that excitement, that fun element out of it. I mean, are these sort of games you would look forward to after 2 or 3 years?
I mean, I guess you've also got to look at it. Do we really want to sit there on Sky Sports and watch us getting tanked by Barcelona and Madrid and Real Madrid AC Milan 4 or 5-0 every week? You've got to look at it that way. I mean, that could turn off supporters from supporting Arsenal even more by the fact that we're playing a pointless league where we're just going to be second from bottom ahead of Spurs every year. And we may get the odd one. We may get the wonderful night at the Emirates one where we beat Barcelona 2-1 maybe, but we lose. And then the next week we play Real Madrid in Madrid and we lose 4 or 5-0. You've got to look at it that way. Are Arsenal really in a position to competitively play in a league against these teams, or are we just there making up the numbers? I mean, would it be best maybe for Arsenal to go, we don't want to be in it, and we'll play in the Premier League and win that every season because we're only playing Leicester, Everton and West Ham. And we'll leave the other 5 to get on with it.
Give us an opportunity to win the league, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'd win the league every year, wouldn't we? Or at least we'd be second behind Leicester.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Although the weekend showed us that we can't even beat Fulham, so what chance do we really have?
Very true.
Yeah. I seen a good one earlier on saying that Arsenal have now backtracked and said that they're not going to join the European Super League. They're going to form their own league with just themselves in it. Bookmakers have them second favourites.
Yes, I did see that. Yes, I was actually about to mention it. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. You've got to look at it. I mean, we all know that Spurs will finish bottom and lose every match. But the problem is, it will be above them because we beat Spurs home and away. Ooh, get down. Sorry, I just got jumped on by a cat.
Well, the other thing as well then is, I mean, you look at it like this. I know we're joking around saying that we potentially, going to fight it out with Spurs for bottom of the league. But where are these other 5 teams coming from? Is it going to be the champions of Scotland and the champions of the Czech Republic? Or is it going to be, they are going to invite another team from England or another
Grasshopper Zurich and all that lot, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, where are these Anderlecht and, where are these teams coming from? And they're saying it'll be based on the previous season. Well, say for example, Rangers win the league, okay? And they've set their stall out. They want to win the league. They want to get into the Champions League the following year. So they've earned the right to be in the Champions League. Then the Super League come along and say, well, here, do you want to come and play next season in the Super League instead?
Here's 400 million quid. Come and play with us for a year.
Yeah. So what do? Do they go, right, well, let's go and play in that league? And, I mean, if UEFA and all these federations are sticking to their guns and saying, well, you can't come and play, the Rangers then go and play in the Super League for a season, get kicked out of their domestic league, and have to start at the bottom again.
I mean, it's like the scenario, I guess, a few years ago where Manchester United decided they wanted to go play this World Championship thing, so they didn't go in the FA Cup. It was the same with Liverpool. Was it last season, the season before, where they put out the kids against Aston Villa and lost 7-1 because Klopp wanted them to have a overseas break instead of playing the League Cup semi-final? You've got to look at it that, in a way, clubs they've ducked out of tournaments before when there's financial, like, incentive in their way. But I agree with what you mean. I said Grasshopper Zurich, are they going to be banned from the Switzerland League for a season and then go back into it the next year? And elected Belgium. I mean, this is where you look at it and you think it's not really a priority. It's kind of just an idea, but there's no real like meat and drink behind the idea. It's like, well, we've got this idea that we're going to do it, but we haven't actually worked out the logistics of how we're going to do it and how clubs are going to progress money-wise from it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't know what's happened to John. Oh, there he is. He's just joined us. Let me get him on here.
Pretty good.
John, how are you?
Pretty good, dude. Just finished class and then I listened to your talk. I'm like, I put my 2 cents in. Can you guys hear me?
It's a wee bit hard to hear you.
How about now?
That's much better. Much better. Yeah. So, John, you're an Everton fan?
Yeah, I've been an Everton fan since 2010. And I'm from California. And I enjoy watching the games, especially if it's late night over there. For us, it's late night.
I can't hear anything. Tough. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you all.
Hello?
Yeah, I can't see John. I can't see or hear John.
I think that's your internet connection, G.
Yeah, well, I can see all 4 of you. I can hear John. Oh, he's gone.
Right, John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, put your microphone back down.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Oh, man. It's just... The situation is so ugly for football and for BPL especially. And I always wanted to get like a supporter group here in LA. And everyone, we all agree, is like, this just makes us like, it's like a free pass for us. It's not a free pass. Like, soccer is deserved. And you have to work your way up just like any other team in this league. And this is like not the way we should do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as an Everton fan, do you feel aggrieved that you weren't invited to be part of it?
You know, like signing some players, especially our new midfielder, Jaime Rodriguez. I just feel like I just don't feel like this is an actual league for us now. It's not a people league. Okay. There's no way. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Okay. And do you think it will go ahead?
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay. And do you think it's going to give those 6 teams an unfair advantage if they stay in the Premier League?
Can you repeat that again? I can't hear you.
I was saying, do you think it'll give the 6 clubs an unfair advantage if they're allowed to stay in the Premier League?
Do we ever elaborate on transfers and those contracts of players? I don't think we elaborate on that. And it's kind of weird thing to bring up, like the situation on player transfers and how things work out with the players and the team and the league itself. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know that situation yet.
Well, at the minute, none of us know that situation. You know, we don't know how it's going to affect things in terms of, you know, whether EFL sanction transfers and things. But you would imagine that they would have to. I don't think they can stand in the way of, you know, people doing their job. You know, it would be stopping people from earning a living to stop them transferring between clubs. So I don't think legally they would be allowed to do that. And you know, there's a whole lot of legal elements in this that, you know, obviously we don't know. As I was saying earlier on, the chances of them kicking us out is slim because, legally we've done nothing wrong as yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is an awful lot of unknowns right now. And until we get a bit more clarity, it is hard to sort of comment. But we've got to think, when we ask these questions, we're thinking of the sort of hypothetical situation that, if all of a sudden, these 6 clubs in the English leagues, you've got your Arsenal, Man City, not so much Man City and Chelsea. I don't think the money's as big a thing for them, but certainly the likes of Arsenal, Spurs, Man United, and who's the other one? Liverpool.
City?
If they're suddenly getting an extra £250 million a season to purchase new players, is that unfair over the likes of your Everton? And
yeah, it's like money on. It's like free money on a table. It's like here's this money in the summer. Do your best.
Yeah.
Make it work. Do you even have like I'm pretty sure they still have the youth system developing, or like how do you say this? Like, how like everyone has their youth system and their grassroots system, and they have players bringing up.
So they have
they
the academy.
Get that? Right. So the academy players, can they still go up and like participate in this if the club is allowing it? I highly doubt that.
These are all known things.
Yeah. It is definitely
the other thing the other thing I was saying is that, if we were to win it, say for example as an Arsenal fan, for Arsenal to go all the way and win it, it's an additional 23 games a season. Now, you add that on top of 38 Premier League games, and then an FA Cup run and a League Cup run. That's an awful lot of games to play with a 25-man squad. So are they then going to turn around and have to say, right, well, these 6 teams can have an extra 6 or an extra 10 players in their squad? And again, then, is that an unfair advantage? Because it means we can go out and buy 6 to 10 world-class players because we have so much extra money.
Mm-hmm.
And then it means that, potentially it's the same 6 teams finish top 6. So they might as well not be in the league. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I see. I mean, what are we going to do with these B League teams or the B team?
Well, they're playing the FA Cup and the League Cup, won't they? They'll stick the under 23s in those tournaments so that they've then got the first team players are fit for your European Super League and your Premier League games. It will end up with Arsenal being knocked out of the 3rd round of the FA Cup every year because we've played Balogun and Reece Nelson and players like that, and we're being knocked out by Brentford or Norwich. They'll basically just throw away the FA Cup and the League Cup because they'll look at them as inferior competitions because they're making money in the big Premier League and the European Super League. And in a way, as you said, if Arsenal then got 400 million quid and the other 5 teams as well, they're going to just go and plunder Grealish from Villa, Rodriguez from Everton, Bamford from Leeds. The money's going to go into these smaller clubs, but they're then going to they're going to rip them apart by buying off all their best players, and they're going to go that way. So yeah, you're going to have. I mean, it's going to be different. I mean, you look at the Spanish league, the Italian league. Anyway, I mean, Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid, they finish top every year anyway, so it's not really going to affect those leagues. But right. our league is more competitive, and as you said, you're just going to have the same six clubs. And then if they're then going to not be in the Champions League, or if they are, you know what I mean, the revenue for your Leicester, your Villas, your Evertons, your Leicesters is going to go down. But then it's also then going to be counterbalanced by the fact that your bigger teams with the money are then going to go in. As I said, I mean, look at in a way what happened to the Southampton youth team. I mean, we plundered Chamberlain and Walcott from it. Spurs had Bale. They had that run under Pochettino, and the following season, the entire team of Southampton was signed up by Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester United. So there is always going to be a knock-on effect for the smaller teams with the bigger teams that have the money behind them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Johnny, any other points you want to make about it?
Well, coming this summer, a lot of players all around the world gonna look at this league and they'll be like, "Do I want to focus on getting in this league, getting that nice payout for X amount of time, or should I just focus on another place and try to compete for an actual Champions League, or do I compete with a team that could go to FIFA World Cup final league?" These players, I wonder where their mindset is right now. I bet their team is put them on a contract. It's yo, you can't say anything. Obviously, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be pretty standard practice now for contracts to, they'll have a mute clause basically. The players aren't allowed to come out and talk unless they're given permission to. And I can guarantee that any player that's gone to their club today and asked for permission to talk to the press has been told no. Certainly from the big six clubs, I think it's one of them things. From the big six clubs, they don't want to speak out at the minute. The players, because they don't, until we know the true ramifications, they don't want to speak out and risk anything. Players at smaller clubs, probably don't want to speak out because they don't want to ruin their chances of potentially going to one of these bigger clubs. Someone was saying earlier on about on the other show I was on, the Republic of Arsenal's show, about Declan Rice, for example. Here's a big name player who they think should be stepping forward and sort of saying about, it's wrong. But Declan Rice isn't going to want to come out and say anything because he wants to move to the likes of Chelsea or a Man United this summer. He wants to, as well as West Ham are doing, he'll want to go to a big club. Right. So he's not going to come out and say anything. So it's hard to know what they're thinking because they will be gagged at the minute. And it's all very well these ex-players coming out and sort of saying how they're feeling and things, but right. A lot of that is jealousy that they're not making the big paydays that these players. Because, I mean, if the money's being pumped into the Super League, their wages are going to go up with it. So it'll come down to what's more important to them, making the money or playing in the likes of a Champions League, which isn't going to be the Champions League of old. And, it's not going to have the Barcelonas and the Real Madrid, so it's not going to have the same attraction.
Right.
The big thing will then be is, do they get to play in international competition? And I tell you, this was another point I made earlier on. What's to stop these Super League clubs or the board of the Super League just going, well, we'll just start our own World Cup. We'll just start our own international tournaments. And FIFA's not corrupt. So many of the nations will go, yeah, let's leave FIFA and go and join the Super League's World Cup.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can hear me or see me clearly.
Yeah, much better now, mate.
Good.
Yeah. The thing about football is money talks, and at the end of the day, with this whole kind of European Super League thing, I think at the moment, what's kind of bad about it is that obviously the European Super League have come out, they've made this announcement, they've named the teams, but like I say, the details are sketchy. We have, as fans, we have so many questions because we just don't know how it's all going to work out. And really and truly, the Premier League have made a statement, obviously a clear, statement of intent that they oppose the European Super League. So, but it'll be interesting to see what they actually do in terms of those 6 teams. So their next move is crucial. And then obviously UEFA have come out and said, this European Super League is spitting in the faces of the fans of football. And there's lots of talks about meetings and potential, potential expulsion from European competitions on this Friday. But really and truly, nothing has actually been done. The European Super League hasn't started. We don't know when it's going to start. We don't know the logistics of it. UEFA haven't actually made any decisions as of yet. They've said a lot of stuff, but they actually haven't made any decisions. The Premier League have come out in opposition to it, but again, they haven't actually made any decisions. So I think the players right now must be just completely confused, you know, because us as fans, we're confused. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going on. But the players must just feel really, really confused, you know, because if we're led to believe, you know, from what we've seen, you know, from Jurgen Klopp tonight, from Arteta yesterday, a lot of the managers and the players didn't even know this was going to happen. Now, I question how true that is. But nevertheless, they definitely didn't have any control over the situation. So I think we can kind of sympathize with the players, because I think we're all in the same position. You know, we really don't know what's going to happen moving forward. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how this all kind of unfolds. But yeah, it's definitely a shockwave. You know, it's the biggest, it's the single biggest. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in. Just watching something here on Sky Sports News. James Milner of Liverpool has actually come out tonight and said, "I don't like it, and I hope it doesn't happen," in regards to the European Super League. So there you go. There's a feeling of a player. This could be the start.
Yeah, but he's not really a main player, though, is he? I mean, you've got to look at it and say James Milner's opinion is as much as relevant as Jamie Carragher or Gary Neville's. He may still be playing, but you know what? But you know what I mean. He's as good. He's as good as retired, though, isn't he? He's a year or two away from being a pundit on Sky Sports on a Sunday afternoon. The players you want to see come out are your Messis, your Ronaldos, those types of players, your real big names. James Milner coming out and saying, "Oh, I don't agree with it." He's a year or two out from sitting next to Martin Keown on BT Sport. I mean, let's be honest. But he is.
Quality, absolute quality. Yeah, it's true.
He's not a main man when it comes to the opinion of the game. You know what I mean? You could probably say more of an impact on it was Mourinho getting the sack today. That's more that, I mean, when he comes out and says why he doesn't agree with it, that's going to be your moment, because he was fired today, and the rumor he was fired was because he basically had a bust up with Daniel Levy today and said, "Well, I don't agree with it, and I don't want to be part of this club," and they fired him. That's going to be, in a way, your face of the whole anti-campaign. James Milner coming out and saying it, that means nothing as far as I'm concerned. As I said, as I said, if Ronaldo came out tomorrow morning and said, "Oh, I don't agree with it," or Messi, or, you know what I mean, Aubameyang, Lacazette, the real main players of what is going to be your marketable players of the league, you know, when the European Super League brings out the poster, James Milner's not going to be on it, is he? You've got to look at it that way. But he's not, is he? He's not going to be on the poster.
No, fair.
It's going to be Ronaldo. It's going to be Aubameyang. It's going to be Messi. It's going to be players like that. Fernandes.
Okay. All right. Okay. John, any last sort of thoughts, any last comments you want to make?
I hate Stan Kroenke.
Fair enough. Chris, any last comment?
No, I think I've said my YouTube moment for now, haven't I? That'll be on Twitter later, won't it? Chris thinks of James Milner.
Yeah, it may well be. Gents, if you hang on for a minute,
that will be on Twitter tomorrow at about 5
That'll
p.m.
be on Twitter. That'll be on Instagram. That'll be on a lot. My followers is going to blow up tomorrow, isn't it? Chris Bullard of Cannon Chatter thinks James Milner is a year off of being a pundit on Sky Sports. There's your tagline.
Brilliant. Okay. sort of conscious there. We're running on an hour and a half tonight, so
Yeah, he's gonna block me on Instagram.
those guys watching live, thank you. If you've any final comments, drop them now. Before G does his final part of the show that he loves to do so much. G, take it away.
Yeah, so really interesting show tonight, guys. Thank you for watching. If you are watching us now, thank you so much from wherever you are in the world. And obviously, if you are watching this on catch up at a later date or time, thank you also for watching the show. So yeah, you can follow us on our socials. We are on Facebook, which is @CannonChatter. We're also on Instagram, which is @Cannon_chatter. Any of you that have a Twitch account, not too familiar with it myself, but I know there are, millions of people out there that do have Twitch. You can follow us on our Twitch account, which is Cannon Chatter. Most of you know us from our Twitter account, which is @Cannon Chatter. Stephen's Twitter account is @SB Cannon Chatter, and my Twitter account is @GTalksArsenal. And most importantly, please do, if you have enjoyed the show, or you really enjoy the kind of content, in terms of what we're putting out there, please do remember to subscribe, turn on those notifications, and hit that like button. All the kind of support we've had so far and the continued support is really appreciated. So thank you very much, guys.
Excellent. John, if people want to contact you, how can they get in contact?
I'm done. I don't know if you can hear me.
Media. I just became a new subscriber today, so guys, get a fan, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome.
Do you have a Twitter account or anything like that?
No, I don't do social. Sorry, only use YouTube.
All right, no worries.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you for joining us, Chris. If people want to contact you or follow you, what can they do?
Well, the link is on the screen, Chris_Bullard01. I do also have Instagram, which is, hang on, can never remember it, but I think it's 0. It's another 0 after so it's the same username, but 010. That's for the Instagram. That's the one I mainly use. But yeah, Twitter is already on the screen.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Chris. Okay, final sort of thought from me. Whether we like it or not, it looks like the Super League is coming. It may not be this year, it may not be next, but it is coming. I used to do a lot of training, sales training, and one of the things I used to like having up in the room was an old Chinese proverb, and I want to leave you with this. When the winds of change blow, some build walls, others build windmills. Think about it. And on that, we will be back on Thursday night with a preview show for the Everton game on Friday. And other than that, good night, and we will see you then.